The Galactic Council had not convened in full in over 4,000 years, and yet there they were, 10,000 beings seated in concentric rings of radiant alloy, orbiting the obsidian command throne. Light refracted off glimmering scales, chitin, translucent silkskin. Their tongues hissed in 1,000 dialects, but their meaning was unified. Earth, Planet 319, ZY. Third from a dying yellow star. Home to wet weather, excessive emotionalism, and species 7HU, human. Ambassador Threxelon stood before the council. His gills flared in disdain. The humans have violated Treaty 66 Luna. They have launched a planetary insult. He paused, allowing the offense to echo in silence. Then, with a dramatic flourish, he summoned the holographic evidence. It spun midair, a perfectly carved asteroid, launched into high orbit around the council's moon, painted garishly with a red, white, and blue pattern. In the center, a middle finger. Underneath it, engraved in ancient galactic script, 2 words. Come get it. The room erupted. Some delegates shrieked. Others vomited smoke. The Varkari Coral delegate tried to swallow itself whole. But not Astara. General Astara of the 13th Spiral, a 1,000-cycle veteran of containment campaigns, leaned forward with her eyes narrowed. Is it possible they don't know that gesture is offensive? Threxelon sniffed. They used your language, General. They know. Across the room, the representative from the Skuhari broke into hissing laughter. Declare war. We'll stamp them in an afternoon. Do not mistake their chaos for weakness, Astar murmured. Humans fight strangely. They weaponize irony. No one listened. The vote passed. War was declared. The council would descend upon Earth with 900 dreadnoughts, 80 plasma harvesters, and one very confident ambassador to offer them a final chance at surrender. He arrived on a quiet Tuesday. The human delegation met him in an open field in Iowa. Blue skies. Corn in every direction. A card table had been set up under a tiny canopy. A single chair waited for him. No honor guard. No warships. Just a man in a white t-shirt and cargo pants pouring lemonade into mason jars. Ambassador Threxelon, right? The man said, smiling like this was a barbecue. Name's Jeb Monroe. Welcome to Earth. We have cookies. He gestured toward a chipped plate stacked with Oreos. Threxelon stared. Are you a diplomat? Of sorts, Jeb said, then extended a hand. I also coach a little league team. Threxelon didn't take the hand. He eyed the cookies like they might explode. Behind Jeb stood a woman. She was barefoot on the grass, wearing a plain black leotard and long, dark hair in a tight bun. Her eyes were impossibly still. This is my associate, Jeb said. Don't worry if she doesn't talk. She's more of a dancer. Dancer? Threxelon said warily. Yes, sir. Name's Baba Yaga. The ambassador did not know the weight that name carried in Slavic folklore, nor what Earth's black files whispered about her. But he did feel a sudden instinct to stand further away. Jeb picked up a cookie and bit into it. Anyway, let's get to the whole war declaration thing. I assume that's what brings you by. Threxelon puffed himself taller. You have committed an interstellar affront against the Council. You have defaced a sacred moon. And your species shows an ongoing pattern of mockery, subversion, and cultural blasphemy. Blasphemy's a strong word, Jeb mused, licking chocolate from his thumb. We mostly just like jokes. The ambassador's facial ridges tightened. You're mocking us. We mock everyone, sir. Even ourselves. It's sort of our brand. The silence stretched. Cicadas buzzed. A cloud passed. The smell of fresh-cut grass lingered. Now, Jeb said, reaching down to unzip a cooler. Before we go further, tea? Lemonade? Something with caffeine? I don't want you leaving here feeling unhydrated and insulted. Against better judgment, or perhaps to regain control, Threxelon accepted the offer. He sipped the lemonade. It was sweet, tart, strangely invigorating. Like citrus lightning. Jeb continued. You see, Ambassador, we understand your council. We've read your treaties. Studied your behavior. Most of y'all are predictable. Linear thinkers. You interpret courtesy as submission. humor as weakness, emotion as fragility. Threxelon's pupils narrowed. "So," Jeb said, folding his hands, "let me clarify Earth's position with full diplomacy." He stood up slowly. The air shifted. A crow somewhere cawed once. "We ain't surrendering. Not now. Not later. Not ever." Threxelon froze. Jeb stepped closer, his voice still light, but his tone had edged into something carved from older stone. "You think peace for 9,900 years makes you gods. But peace makes you soft. We've been at war with each other since before we had plumbing. We sharpened civilization with bone knives. We turned horror into sport. And now we're bored, which makes us very dangerous." Baba Yaga took one slow step forward. Her feet didn't crunch the grass. Her shadow did not match her motion. Threxelon backed away. Jeb leaned in. "You don't get to decide if we're part of the galaxy, Ambassador. We're already here. And believe me, once you see what we really brought to the dance." He smiled wider, teeth just a little too calm. "You'll wish we'd just left you that finger." The ship logs from the Ambassador's crew record strange data, anomalies on the return trip. All 23 crew members who had accepted Earth refreshments began experiencing vivid hallucinations. Visions of war, famine, collapsing stars, and ancient human atrocities projected as dreams. One officer tried to blind himself. Another wept continuously. No poisons were found. No pathogens. Just terror. Later, a single classified recording surfaced. It showed Threxelon pacing in his quarters, whispering into his translator. "They aren't insane. They're deliberate. They're cheerful and calculated. And they have unleashed something." The footage ends as lights flicker, and something in the shadow behind him moves. Back in council space, ships began to mobilize. General Astara read the reports in silence. Her second-in-command scoffed. "One man and one barefoot woman? They're stalling." She stared at the report, at the words Boogeyman and Baba Yaga. "No," she said softly. "They're warning us." The sky above Earth was quiet. Too quiet. From the galactic viewports of Fleet Dreadnought Othkalis, the pale blue planet spun with deceptive stillness, like a child's marble left in the dirt. No swarming defense drones. No orbital platforms. No planetary shields humming with threat. Just clouds, continents, weather, primitive and unimpressive. Captain Uraka squinted one obsidian eye at the rotating sphere. His species, the Qatari, prided themselves on sensing danger the way birds sense storms. And right now, his feathers itched. Not from weapons, but from something else. Something unsaid. "Still nothing," his radar chief reported. "They're not even scanning us." "Reckless," muttered General Ryath from the command dais. "Or stupid." On the main hollow, Earth's response frequency flickered to life. A human appeared, grinning. White teeth, bright eyes, square jaw, American accent. "Howdy, friends," Jeb Monroe said, tipping an invisible hat. "Heard y'all came with 900 ships. Mighty generous. We were afraid you wouldn't take the invitation seriously." He was wearing a cape. Red, white, and blue. Star-spangled. It fluttered, impossibly, in zero gravity. "And don't worry," he added. "We vacuum-sealed a snack basket for the survivors." The feed cut. A silence, thicker than vacuum, settled over the bridge. "That," Ryath said, voice low, "was your Boogeyman?" Captain Uraka didn't answer. He was too busy reviewing the last transmission frame by frame. In the final millisecond, a shape had flickered behind Jeb. Thin, upright, poised on one foot, arms curved above her head in a ballet arc. He magnified it. The dancer didn't blink, didn't sway. Her eyes looked straight into the camera, unblinking. The file corrupted instantly. The Council's fleet fanned out across lunar orbit like a noose, closing in gently. A show of overwhelming force. The humans should have been terrified. But Earth kept transmitting memes. They showed Earth cows photoshopped on alien battle cruisers. One had a slogan in Galactic standard, "We come in peas." Another showed a smiling Jeb mid-flex, captioned, "Warning. Side effects of war with Earth may include extinction, embarrassment, and internal bleeding." General Ryeth snarled. This is psychological warfare. No, sir, murmured Yaga. It's performance. The attack began at exactly 3 o'clock Universal Time Coordinated. It lasted 8 minutes. Not because Earth surrendered. Because Earth didn't respond at all. Their cities vanished under orbital bombardment. Or so it seemed. But when scouts returned to confirm destruction, the same cities reappeared untouched. Coffee shops open. Children playing. Tour buses running late. None of it made sense. You are seeing pre-recorded light loops, the human transmission explained with cheery music. We've simply removed ourselves from visible space. Don't worry. You'll see us when it's too late. Then the lights on Kalis flickered. 3 decks went dark. Every crew member assigned to those sections was later found inside the command cafeteria, naked, bound in floral sheets, with the words "time for a nap" written on their foreheads in lipstick. In each case, lipstick analysis confirmed. Shade Requiem Rose. A discontinued Earth cosmetic last sold in 1996. Ryeth was furious. They're mocking us. Where are their ships? No ships, Yaga whispered, scrolling telemetry. Just signals. Ghosts. Whispers. His screen stuttered, then changed. Jeb Monroe appeared again, this time lounging across a massive alien gun turret like it was a hammock. Well, butter my biscuits, this one's comfy, he said, picking at his nails with what looked like a spoon. This turret y'all made? Gorgeous. But if I turn it just a little. He shifted. A blast ripped through the side of one of their own fleet carriers. Oops, he said. Y'all really ought to childproof these things. The feed went black. That's when they realized he wasn't broadcasting from Earth. He was inside their own ship. 10 decks below the bridge, alarms were screaming. Jeb walked calmly, whistling Battle Hymn of a Republic, dragging a giant chrome lunchbox behind him. He passed Qatari guards frozen in what looked like trance. Some had dropped their weapons. Others simply wept. He paused, opened the lunchbox. Inside, a thermos, an American flag, and a single hard-boiled egg. He unscrewed the thermos. Steam hissed. From an overhead vent, Baba Yaga dropped silently. She landed in second position, straightened to fourth, and began to twirl. 4 alien guards raised their weapons. 4 alien guards dropped dead a moment later. No visible injuries. Just glassy eyes and the faint scent of jasmine. Jeb didn't look up. You leave that part of the ship clear? She nodded. All right then. He tapped his wrist. Phase 2. Back on the flagship, Yaga stared in disbelief. A third of their fleet was now offline. Not destroyed. Not damaged. Simply unavailable. Like pieces taken off a chessboard mid-game. They're disabling us one ship at a time, he whispered. Without weapons. Without armies. They're bluffing, Ryeth spat. Deploy the Scorch drones. But the command interface no longer worked. It had been replaced with a gif of a cat typing furiously on a keyboard. In the bottom corner, processing your doom. Please wait. Yaga rose. His claws trembled. General, he said softly, we need to leave. Ryeth turned. Coward. No, Yaga said. I'm Qatari. I have survived 16 species wars. But this isn't war. He looked down at the readouts. This is rehearsal. Elsewhere, in a sterilized council chamber, Estara watched the fleet data streaming in. She had seen empires fall, watched black holes born and tamed. But never had she seen a species weaponize mischief. She studied Earth's pattern, randomness, humor, absurdity. But when laid over the fleet map, it formed precision strikes, key nodes, blind spots, psychological pressure points. She closed her eyes. Someone's coordinating this. Behind her, the AI model agreed. Probability suggests 2 human operatives. Codename Boogeyman and Baba Yaga. They're not codenames, she muttered. They're warnings. She looked at Earth. A dead world on the surface. But beneath it, dormant fires, grinning teeth, and a long memory for insults. Back aboard Kalis, Jeb reached the central reactor room, set his thermos down beside the core. He looked up at the control camera. I could blow this place to hell, he said conversationally. but I'm a fan of restraint. So instead, I'll just bend the rules." He whistled. Baba Yaga appeared, upside down, perched on a pipe. He turned to her. "Want to dance?" She nodded once. The reactor shut down. Not failed, chose to stop. Later engineers would be unable to explain how an alien power core responded to a human whistle and a dancer's pirouette. Jeb leaned into the camera. "I'd suggest telling your council to bring flowers next time," he said. "Earth's picky about manners." He gave a lazy salute, then vanished in a shimmer of stars and static. In the command bridge, Yaga lowered his head. "They broke us with a cape," he said hoarsely. "And a shadow." General Ryath refused to speak. Behind them, a new message flashed on the command screen. "This is your final courtesy transmission. If you choose to continue, Earth will stop being polite." Then the file blinked once. And start getting real. The summit was to be held on the hollow moon of Draza 5, a hollowed-out shell orbiting the gas giant Sal Phoenix. It was chosen for its political neutrality and polished white stone banquet chamber, which sparkled like a polished tooth under the lights. The galaxy's last peacekeepers had gathered. The Council sent high strategists. The Outer Rim sent the Daughters of Ash. Even the Skuhari sent 3 minds fused into one trembling body. And Earth? Earth sent a table. It arrived first. Mahogany, oak-lipped, 12-seated. No weapons, no devices. Just polished wood, American-built. The kind you find in an old house where every creak in the floorboard has a story. A small plaque was affixed in English and Galactic script. "Sit down and let's talk." Or don't. Either way, you'll understand. When the humans arrived, they brought no guards. Jeb Monroe entered wearing a perfectly tailored dark blue suit and a tie that had a coffee stain near the bottom. He carried a paper bag labeled Jimmy's Rib Shack and wore a warm smile that somehow made every species in the room reach for weapons they didn't have. Beside him walked Baba Yaga, barefoot, in a long red dress with sleeves like the trailing ends of a fire. Her hair was wet, as though she had bathed in something moments ago. Her eyes were not dead, but they were farther away than most. Ambassador Threxelon rose, barely keeping his voice from cracking. "We appreciate the gesture of diplomacy. At last, some sense." Jeb set the bag on the table. "Brought food. Didn't know if this place catered. You expect us to negotiate over charred protein?" "No," Jeb said cheerfully. "I expect you to sit down and think real hard about your grandchildren." He pulled out a chair and sat. Baba Yaga didn't. She stood behind him, still as a statue from some forgotten myth, arms at her sides, toes silent on the stone floor. Estara arrived last. No ceremonial armor, no banners. Just a long gray robe and a face that had forgotten how to sleep. She took the seat across from Jeb. Not out of politics. Out of necessity. "Have you come to offer terms?" she asked. He opened the bag. Pulled out a plastic fork. Not quite. The others stared in disbelief as he began eating slow, methodical bites of ribs. Chew. Swallow. Smile. "You're the one they call the Boogeyman," murmured the Skuhari speaker. Jeb wiped sauce from his mouth. "Nah. That name came from your side. We just ran with it." "Then what are you?" Estara asked. "American." It wasn't a punchline, but it might as well have been. Threxelon slammed his 4-fingered hand against the table. "We came here to discuss peace, not cultural riddles." Jeb nodded. "And I came here to offer clarity. You declared war thinking it'd be quick. You thought we were backward, undisciplined, too chaotic to organize, too emotional to fight clean." "Which you are," spat Threxelon. "And still," Jeb said, licking barbecue from his fingers, "here we are. 2 billion of your soldiers offline. 17 dreadnoughts floating empty. Half your fleet suffering from induced psychotic episodes because someone drank our lemonade." The table went quiet. "Those were violations of galactic law," Ryath growled. Jeb grinned. "So starting a war based on finger art." Estara cut through the tension like a scalpel. "You're here because you want us to stop. But you're not offering surrender. That leaves one possibility." Jeb leaned forward. "Warning." Baba Yaga moved. A single, slow turn of her wrist. Every light in the chamber dimmed by 3 degrees. The room froze. "See," Jeb said conversationally, "you don't understand what we are. That's fair. We hit it. We sent musicians to your stars. Comedians, diplomats, anthropologists, real sweet kids, all smiles. You thought that was all we had." He paused. "We didn't send the killers." Baba Yaga's shadow stretched without a source. Drexelon's translator device began to heat visibly on his chest. He yelped, slapped it off, and it hit the floor sizzling. "We don't need numbers," Jeb continued. "We don't need planets. What we've got is deeper, meaner, older." He turned to Astara. "Do you know how many civilizations on Earth tried to wipe us out? How many plagues, tyrants, crusades, nuclear standoffs we've lived through?" She said nothing. "We are not survivors," he whispered. "We are what's left after survival fails." Astara's mouth was dry. Jeb stood. He walked around the table, slow, each step echoing. "We learned a trick somewhere in the middle of our madness. If you can't be the biggest, be the worst nightmare." He stopped beside Baba Yaga. She hadn't blinked once since arrival. "Say something," Astara asked her softly. "She won't," Jeb answered. "She took a vow of silence after Kiev. Too many ghosts." "And you bring her here?" Drexelon barked. "This is diplomacy. This is honesty." Jeb opened his suit coat. Inside wasn't a weapon. It was a map. Projected in warm gold light, it displayed the Council's current fleet formation, vulnerabilities, and a new mark, the Draza 5 Hollow Moon. "Your ships are currently in a geogravitic tether field you didn't notice when you parked." He turned the projection. Red lines formed. Not a trap. Not a bomb. Just a polite nudge. A timer started ticking. 45 seconds. "What is this?" Ryath demanded, rising. "Your choice." Astara remained seated. Her eyes moved between Jeb, the dancer, and the map. "You won't destroy us," she said. "You want to make a point, not commit genocide." Jeb smiled. "Y'all are the ones who declared war." Baba Yaga lifted her hand. The map flickered. The hollow moon shook once. Far above, in orbit, 712 ships lost power. Not destroyed. Just quieted. Offline. Silent. Drifting. Like toys taken away at bedtime. Astara stared. "You didn't disable just the ships." Jeb nodded. "We cut the fire from your engines, the pulse from your weapons, the will from your systems." "AI dampening fields," Astara whispered. "Experimental. Illegal." Jeb shrugged. "Funny thing about Earth, we don't ask permission." The chamber was dead still. Then, from nowhere, Baba Yaga moved to the table. She placed something down. A single ballet slipper, pale and delicate. A ribbon tied around it. The ribbon wasn't cloth. It was a fragment of General Ryath's command sash. No one had seen her move. No one had seen him leave. "Where is?" Drexelon stammered. The chamber's walls suddenly closed. Projected against every panel, in blood-red cursive. "You wanted peace after waking the monster? You don't get peace. You get a lesson." Then the lights snapped off. And in the brief flash before blackout, Astara saw Baba Yaga smile. Just once. A small, heartbreaking thing. Like a girl who never wanted to dance this kind of ballet. The Galactic Empire had one weapon left. Not a ship, not a fleet, but something older. Something built when peace was still an uncertain whisper in the universe's throat. It had no name, only designations. Array 0, the Lance Protocol. Soul Silence. A machine buried in the crust of R9, tethered to solar lines that fed it the power of a blue giant. It had only one purpose. Erase a planet. Not scorch. Not conquer. Erase. General Astara stood inside the control sphere beneath the lance, surrounded by light so white it bled the edges of thought. She had aged 10 years in 10 days. The council no longer issued commands, they begged. The other delegates had turned to her as if to a ghost who refused to die. And so she had come here, to do what her ancestors could not, end the fear of Earth. A technician from the fourth spiral turned to her. Power at 100%. She nodded. No ceremony. No speech. Just a hand raised. "Wait," said a voice behind her. Astara froze. The technicians blinked, startled. No one else was supposed to be inside the lance. But someone was. He leaned casually against the inner railing, arms folded, his cape draped over one shoulder. Not dramatic. Just there. Soft as a childhood memory. "Ma'am," Jeb Monroe said with that slow southern lilt, "I'd hate for y'all to pull that trigger without considering the consequences." Astara turned slowly. "You're trespassing in a restricted." "Sure am," he said, stepping forward. "Funny thing, though, Earth stopped asking for permission a long time ago." The lights in the lance dimmed slightly, just a flicker. Enough to shift the mood. Astara's voice held steady. "If you're here to talk, talk fast. You have 5 minutes before this system activates." "Oh, I'm not here to talk," Jeb said. "I'm here to offer a kindness." He whistled once, soft and tuneful. A whisper of silk brushed the floor behind him. Baba Yaga entered barefoot, her red dress trailing behind her like smoke from a dying fire. She did not speak. She simply walked a slow spiral along the room's edge, arms out, as if testing the gravity. Astara looked between them. "You think the two of you can stop this?" "No, ma'am," Jeb said. "We came to tell you what's already happened." He raised his hand. The ceiling of the lance flickered and turned translucent. Above them, in orbit, the last Council armada shimmered like a necklace of diamonds. Then it began to change. One by one, the ships began to tilt, slowly, deliberately, pointing not at Earth, but at each other. "What is this?" the technician gasped. "Resignation," Jeb said. "Your systems aren't yours anymore. Haven't been for 4 days." Astara narrowed her eyes. "Impossible. You brought your whole empire to Earth," he said, pacing now. "You brought your smartest engineers, your most advanced AI, your proudest weapons." He paused by a control node, tapped it gently with one finger. "Problem is, Earth doesn't play by the rules." The control panel's screen turned to static, then resolved into a single image, the Earth flag. Not fluttering, but burning in blue flame. A message blinked beneath it. "We accept your surrender." Astara drew herself up. "We have not surrendered." "You don't have to," Jeb replied softly. "The stars already have." Above them, the ships began to power down. The blue lights faded. The weapons retracted. Across 5 systems, military networks collapsed into silence. Not hacked. Not deleted. Rewritten. Every line of code had been subtly altered over weeks. By a virus with no digital footprint. A virus encoded in music. Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. "Y'all should have asked why we kept sending orchestras into space," Jeb said, almost gently. A klaxon sounded somewhere above. Baba Yaga moved. One moment she was beside Jeb. The next she was standing on the central control ring, arms raised above her head, spinning. Slow at first, then faster. Each turn released a ripple of kinetic energy that resonated with the lance's systems. "She's dancing," the technician whispered. "No," Astara said. "She's sinking." The lance began to hum. Low. Wrong. Jeb stepped closer to Astara. "You built this machine to erase a planet. You made it in a time before peace. You kept it buried because you were afraid of your own hunger." He looked into her eyes. "Thing is, we know that hunger. We live in it. But we also learned something y'all didn't." "And what is that?" Astara whispered. Jeb smiled, sad now, almost tender. "You can scare a man into obedience. You can starve a world into surrender. But you cannot make a human forget who they are." He stepped back. The lance's light turned red. Astara turned to the technician. "Shut it down." "I can't," the technician stammered. "It's not responding to us anymore. It's listening to her." Baba Yaga stopped dancing. She stood dead center of the control core, arms at her side, hair falling over one eye. Then she lifted her foot and tapped. Once. The sound echoed. The lights blew out. Silence. Then a single sound. A voice. Not human. Not alien. Something in between. From the speaker above them. "The lance is now human." Jeb nodded. "We retuned it." Now it only fires when it feels shame. Astara stared at him. He nodded again. It felt you. Felt the war. Felt the lies you told to justify burning Earth. And it decided. He turned toward the window. A sun blinked out. Just one. Far away. No sound. But the room trembled. Astara's knees gave. She caught herself on the edge of the console. What did you just do? Jeb turned to her. And, for the first time, there was no smile. We made an example. He walked to the console and entered a single code. Above them, the orbiting fleet ignited, not in flames, but in a light so clean it hurt to look at. The ships didn't explode. They dissolved, erased like chalk from a board. What is this? Astara choked out. Final protocol, Jeb said. We never planned on victory. Just made sure that if you ever crossed that line, we'd be waiting where the map ends. The chamber grew cold. Then Baba Yaga walked forward. She reached Astara and did something no one expected. She kissed her on the forehead. No threat. No rage. Just pity. Astara trembled. What are you? Baba Yaga whispered something so quietly only Astara could hear. Then she vanished. No shimmer. No flash. Just gone. Jeb stepped back. You'll survive. We let you. So you can tell the story. Astara closed her eyes. Jeb turned, cape trailing, and followed the same path out. Boogeyman, Astara called softly. He paused. If we'd offered peace, real peace, before all this, would you have taken it? Jeb looked over his shoulder. Ma'am, he said, voice like cracked oak and evening thunder. We were always at peace. You just mistook our silence for surrender. He walked into the dark. Above, the stars realigned. And behind her eyes, Astara saw the truth in that silence. Earth had never been quiet. Earth had been watching.